Good morning. It's very nice to be with you again. For those who don't know me, my name is Nayaswami Surendra. This, of course, is Nayaswami Daiva, and Nayaswami Gangamata is in Florida this week visiting family. I want to read from Whispers from Eternity, which is Master's book of prayers and prayer demands. And this poem, Make Me Thy Butterfly of Eternity. I have burnt my past, destroying every seed of evil destiny. I have stridden bravely through the strewn ashes of my past and future fears. I am the eternal now, having torn to shreds my enclosing cocoon of ignorance with the sharp knife of free will. Now I am thy soaring butterfly of eternity, flitting freely through immeasurable skies of time. The beauty of my wings I spread out through nature everywhere to entertain all beings. My wings are sprinkled with suns and stardust. Lo, I am beautiful. May every silken thread that shrouded my past folly be severed forever. See, they trail now behind me, only adding to my beauty as I wing my way to myself in thee. What does it take to shred the cocoon of one's ignorance, as Yogananda has written in this beautiful poem, and to emerge transformed? The lowly caterpillar, the example we have of the lowly caterpillar becoming the winged butterfly. In that, nature has given us not just an inspiring metaphor to relate to, but an actuality to aspire to. The caterpillar does transform. And we too can remake ourselves into beings that soar high above the mundane, into beings of light. It's just a question of how. How do we do it? A few minutes ago, we affirmed that we are willing. We affirmed our willingness to welcome whatever comes to us. And from Rays of the One Light, our reading was on the attractive power of faith. These two qualities, willingness and faith, are essential to our spiritual progress. I'd like to address these qualities in a little bit wider context and then add a few personal notes as well. Everyone knows what it means to be willing. Yes, I am willing, or no, I am not. But faith is a little more difficult to understand correctly. Is it more than a belief? Our masters have made a clear distinction between the two. Faith is born of experience, whereas belief is born of mere desire or opinion. I can believe that global warming is a myth. I can believe that justice will be served if my candidate for political office is elected. I can even believe the earth is flat. But that belief, those beliefs, are not going to resonate with reality. My experience of those beliefs is not likely to resonate with reality. Good things begin with someone believing in their potential value. But this is a tricky world, isn't it? God has designed the game in such a way that every positive external force, every positive external achievement is also possessed of its opposite. A pendulum swings to and fro. Like it or not, fro gets equal time. A coin has two sides. It cannot have only one. Someone harnesses the atom and turns the atom's activity into useful energy. Then someone else turns it into a bomb. Two sides of the same capability. This is a difficult world to work your way through, especially if you believe that society has the means to make you happy and that all you have to do is simply do whatever it tells you to. Society has an agenda, and that agenda does not serve well our quest for inner peace. Society promotes competition and consumption. It equates happiness with acquiring wealth and power. And if that's not enough to make us a little bit crazy, we have to deal with the fact that duality exists, that everything that we desire that is born of ego is going to have that opposite capability. Anyone who hopes to find his lasting joy in worldly pursuits and ambitions is going to be very disappointed in how his life unfolds. And I suspect you are very aware of that already. It's all about ups and downs. The singer Dean Martin was once asked, "What do you believe?" He thought for a moment and replied, "I believe I'll have another drink." It's a funny line, but hardly a conviction on which to build a purposeful or a gratifying life. And sadly, we see that most people are unwilling to reach for more than a temporary fix to whatever it is that causes them to suffer. Looking outside themselves for answers, they are blind to the emptiness that they continue to attract over and over. Belief becomes faith when it consistently gives us the experience of what we believed it would. I have faith in the force of gravity. For as long as I can remember, it has kept me from flying somewhere off into space. So far, so good. I believe, however, that God could suspend the force of gravity in any given moment. And if he ever does, then I have to rethink my faith. But meanwhile, fortunately, I can plan my day according to the very high probability that I will remain in fundamental contact with the earth. Faith of a spiritual nature is the power to draw to ourselves, to know and to experience the truth of who we are. We are divine, immortal beings, eternally more than these temporary human bodies and brains and the obvious limitations that we have. As it says in our Festival of Light, after eons of time and repeated flights into darkness, we finally ask, who are we in reality? For what end were we made? We begin to seek the answers and the guidance that will lead us to faith in God and to our eventual redemption. But meanwhile, thanks to our social conditioning, we have a lot of hoops and hurdles to put behind us first, don't we? Our stubborn habits, our worldly ambitions and attachments, our moods, and our material desires. The only thing more exhausting than striving for spiritual liberation is the failure to make the effort. Because that simply guarantees that we're going to come around again, that we'll be on that wheel of reincarnation, having made probably very little serious progress. It's humorously suggested that when a newborn child draws its first breath and cries aloud, that what it's really reacting to is the sudden realization that, oh my God, I'm back here again. I don't have to tell you that these 5 masters have come to us with all the tools, teachings, and techniques that we need to gain enlightenment and our liberation. Our task is simply to put them into practice. Self-study, self-control, sadhana, service to others, satsang with like-minded souls. And to find in making these commitments an experience of lasting joy that no worldly pursuit possibly could. I've recently had the privilege of watching as someone very dear to me took willingness and faith to an extraordinary level of spiritual attainment. As most of you know, but I'm sure some do not, my wife of 35 years, Tushti, passed away just a few weeks ago. And although her death was not sudden, it was a great loss for me, for Ananda, and for everyone whose life she touched. Yet her passing was also a very profound, instructive, and inspiring experience for reasons that speak directly to this discussion this morning. As a writer, it was my nature to record many of my thoughts during the months of her illness, and I want to share some of these with you today, hopefully with the idea that each of us may better understand what death and dying is all about, and be able, as Tushti was, to come to the end of life with a trusting heart, an open mind, and a soul that has been purified of most, if not all, of the karma that binds us to the vagaries of this worldly existence. What I gained in the course of this intimate process was my own faith in the promise of what lies ahead when we face that final exam with courage instead of remorse or despair. When we pass through that veil that separates this earthly life from the next one with love instead of fear. Tushti was about the last person you might expect to develop a terminal illness. She had almost boundless energy. She practiced yoga devotedly, ate a healthy diet, and she was only 68 years old. Lesson number 1, we never know what God's plan might be for us. And so it's a very good idea to be willing to face whatever comes to us, because you can bet it has your name on it, and it has come to you for a purpose. It's a chance to lay to rest some emotional, psychological, or spiritual limitation if you are willing to face it. Tushti's condition was painful and extremely debilitating for those 7 months. She battled against it as best she could, but she also accepted that here was an opportunity to overcome any resistance she might have had to the message that God was sending her, to deepen her attunement to Spirit. She never lost the sparkle in her eyes, her concern for the welfare of others, her innate kindness and sweet disposition, her appreciation for everything that was being done for her, and her inner peace. She didn't want to die, but she wasn't afraid. And when it became obvious that her soul was trying to find its way out of that tired body, she gracefully allowed it to take its leave. Lesson number 2, when the outcome has been clearly ordained, let go and let God. No regrets, no complaints, just willingness and faith. In the last weeks of her life, it seemed almost impossible that she could still be alive. There wasn't much there but a heartbeat and a breath. And we could only imagine that she had been given an add-on assignment to her final exam. God was apparently keeping her in that body long past its expiration date and whispering in her ear to show us all, this is how you do it. This is how you come to the end of your life, your heart brimming with love, regardless of the pain and discomfort. Lesson number 3, we're here to offer ourselves in service and devotion to God and to each other for as long as we can and in any way we are asked. Tushti was serving us all right to the end. And from her we learn what it means to die with willingness and faith, open to the moment and borne on wings of God's and Guru's grace. I've never known a time that I cherish as much as those 7 months. Yet, 3 days after her passing, I was struck by the physical finality of her absence. What had been was going to be no more. And I wrote this reflection. For 35 years, I would hold my wife in my arms, feeling her breath on my neck. Today, I held her in a carry sack containing 2 canisters of her ashes. That was quite a moment for me. Lesson number 4. In time, our material being, this flesh and all the features that we identify as you and me, it's reduced to about 7 or 8 pounds. 7 or 8 pounds that will also later vanish into myriad other forms and expressions of the infinite. Life goes on as we know it, and then it goes away. Or does it? The consciousness that we are is forever. In Swami Kriyananda's magnificent oratorio, Jesus on the cross sings these most poignant and reassuring words. Birth, life, and death are one. Veils of thy love. Just veils. Veils that we can part with dedicated attunement to God's ever-present love. The Masters tell us that as their disciples, we've been together before, probably many times, and that we shall probably be together again as we are now, working to free ourselves and others from doubts and fears, from emotions and earthly attachments. Willingness and faith are two of the essentials that we have to have for that journey to the summit of our soul's liberation. Tushti took these qualities to heart. She put them into practice. And we can too. Life goes on, and so do we, because death is merely a doorway to life continuing elsewhere. God bless us all.
On the title, "He who clothes the field and Lord may we serve you."
Who feeds the birds of the air.